Hey everybody, welcome to Landscape Rescue. My name's Stuart Moore, and today I wanted to go to a smaller garden center. This is attached to a hardware store called Nixa Hardware, a great nursery. It's kind of like this hidden gem kind of out here in Nixa, Missouri. When I first walk in, I don't see very much, and then I find all the little secrets that they haven't put away yet. Let's go take a look. All right, so one of the first things that jumped out at me was this 5-gallon variegated English holly. It's just because we don't see them very often. Obviously, it looks fantastic. It's a Monrovia. Now, this is a big boy. The English holly gets big. This is a 20-footer. If you look already, it's about 3 foot now. Very misleading. Like any evergreen, I would definitely use wilt proof. I would definitely keep it out of the north wind if at all possible. I know sometimes that's not a thing that you can do in your landscape design. Don't compromise on your design, but try to get some wilt just to mitigate that dry wind that's gonna dry these out. Now, one thing I can say about hollies in general is I never count them out. I've had hollies completely defoliate in the middle of the summer. I've moved them to the wood line, and we're talking 25-gallon Foster hollies. I go back to throw them away 3 months later, and they're completely flushed out, gorgeous. I move them back into line, I sell them at full price. Just let it warm up a little bit and see if it will reflush. When talking about a 5-gallon Monrovia that's 3 feet, that's this pretty, that's a really good price because we're seeing 5-gallon stuff other places for hundreds of dollars. If this came through the winter, if this is last year's stock, they did a really good job of keeping this stuff looking good. This is a peach tree. It's going to bear peaches. Very pretty. I think we forget that fruit-bearing trees are the reason we have ornamental non-fruit-bearing trees, right? So this is kind of where it all started. Now, this is a hail haven. Obviously, that's not where it all started, but peach trees are very pretty. I'm not a huge fan of peach trees because I don't eat peaches. What I end up doing is fighting yellow jackets the entire year. And we're not talking about one ground hornet nest here. We're talking about 12. And I spend a lot of time wiping them out, digging up honeycombs and things like that because the peaches are just such a great food source for them. They start their little nests. And here's the thing. Do you find out they're there? Yes. The problem is, do you find out they're there when you're mowing? Yes. In high school, I would do battle with these things because we had like 8 peach trees in our backyard. And every time my mom or we would mow, they would just go after you. Unfortunately for my mom, I'm a lot more nimble back in high school, and I could get out of there without getting stung. And you always knew where the hornet's nest was because half of the yard would be mowed, and then mid-stripe, the lawnmower would just stop. I would pull in the driveway and I'd see the lawnmower just stopped, and I'd say, Mom found a hornet nest. I'm a huge fan of how peach trees look. I just don't necessarily like the hornets that come along with the peach trees. This is a 5-gallon and it's $43.84. The great thing about peach trees is they grow fast and you get peaches pretty quick. It's not like an apple tree where you gotta wait around for a long time. All right, right here, I found it's this little 5-gallon Shishi Japanese maple. I think it means lion's mane in Japanese. I'd have to look that up, but Shishi it's very dense. We can't really see it now because it's just now starting to leaf out, but very, very tight, very small maple leaves on this. And they basically create kind of this impenetrable, with age, obviously they're a little bit more spindly when they're little, but they'll develop these like an impenetrable barrier of leaves because they're very small and it's very dense. And the Shishi has beautiful fall color. It's just a great Japanese maple because not a lot of people have them. So that's kind of the cool thing about coming to these nurseries that aren't corporately dominated with how they order. These smaller nurseries are a really good way to get kind of an eclectic mix of plants because someone is eventually going to buy the Shishi. They are going to run into somebody that knows what this is, that's a Japanese maple fan. They're going to come in and they're going to buy this. For $118, that's not really a bad price for a Japanese maple that in the ground is going to be about 5 feet tall. With any Japanese maple, with the exception of like the, blood goods and those palmatum, I mean, they're all Acer palmatum, but you know what I'm saying, the more upright versions, not the like Crimson Queens and Tamukiyamas that weep. The more upright versions are a little less expensive because I think they grow a little bit faster. You're gonna find those blood goods pretty much everywhere. We see them at Lowe's. And if you're really lucky, you can find some on the clearance rack, and then we're 50% off, you're doing pretty good. Those are everywhere. But the Shishi-Garshira, I see them periodically, but very rarely. Leans more on the rarer side when it comes to Japanese maples, and beautiful fall color, and it would be an asset to any garden that had somewhat of a loosey-goosey aesthetic, right? So I can put a Japanese maple into my design and not really compromise the general look. Yeah, I'm a fan. This is the Shishi-Garshira. Okay, here's where I lose most people that aren't plant people because they're gonna get bored, but I wanna run through this really quick. So this right here is a Scarlet Fire Kusa dogwood. Okay, so it would be Cornus Kusa Scarlet Fire, right? Opposed to this one right here, which is Cornus Florida Cherokee Princess. So Scarlet Fire, obviously it's in the name, it's going to be red, right? Cherokee Princess is going to be white. Cherokee Brave is going to be pink. Cherokee Chief is going to be a darker pink. But all of those are going to be the Cornus Florida, the native dogwood. Now the native dogwood is going to bloom. See, it's starting to bloom right here, right? See that little guy? It's a clean bloomer. Okay, so it's going to bloom before the leaves come on. The Scarlet Fire, on the other hand, is a dirty bloomer. It's going to bloom because it's a Kusa, right? It's a Cornus Kusa Scarlet Fire, which means it's a Korean dogwood. It is going to bloom with the leaves on. Now, pink or white, they're going to show up against leaves. I mean, they're very pretty. Milky Way is another one that I really like that's a Kusa, that I'm a big fan of the Milky Way. So Scarlet Fire, whenever you have a named variety of, well, I'm sure there's some exceptions to this, but the named variety, so Cornus Kusa Scarlet Fire, is going to bloom better than just a regular Cornus Kusa, right? Cornus Florida Cherokee Princess is going to bloom a lot better, more blooms. It's been bred to have more blooms on it than, say, a regular Cornus Florida or regular Cornus Kusa. You're not going to be disappointed. Okay, so if you need a plant and you're not willing to wait, go with a regular Cornus Florida, go with a regular Cornus Kusa, you're going to be okay. The only decision you have to make now, especially if you had access to both of them, is which one do I want it to bloom later in the year after the leaves are already on and the Cornus Floridas have kind of lost their blooms, right? Or do you want it to bloom and coincide with, say, red buds, right? So do you want the red buds blooming? Do you want to kind of extend your blooming season in the spring and put some Kusas because they're like, kind of like early summer? Now, if it has dogwood in the name, with a couple exceptions when we're talking about bush dogwoods and there's a couple other dogwoods that you can put in full sun. I don't put the Cornus Kusa and I don't put the Cornus Florida in full sun. There's other things that I can use, like a fringe tree or a Yoshino or something like that, that I don't have to worry about as much in full sun as I do a Kusa. But a Kusa can take just a smidge more sun. Okay, so let's look at it like this. I could probably get a Cornus Florida to stick in full sun, but it's risky. It's like getting your birth control from Dr. Huxtable. It is risky. It's a risk you don't necessarily need to take. Somewhat of a more eclectic mix of dogwoods, right? They've got Cherokee Princess here, they've got Kusas, they've got Scarlet Fires. So it looks like they've got some in a 5-gallon. These are $59.84. The bigger ones, maybe in a 7 or a 10. It's kind of hard to judge because growers use different size pots and it is what it, okay, it says it's a 7. This one, which was a Cherokee Princess, is $118.74. I mean, I guess if you need the extra, if you need the extra foot pay the extra money, but really what you're buying is you're buying root growth, and you're buying diameter, right, of the trunk. So when we buy ball and burlap trees, those are priced by the caliper inch, which is the caliper of the trunk 6 inches above the root flare down at the bottom. All right, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to do this every single day. I know I've been gone for 2 years, and I missed an entire growing season, so I just wanted to thank you for that. And my battery's about to die, but we've covered a lot here. This is gonna be a nice video to edit. It's probably gonna take me all day. And anyway, long story short, my name's Stuart Moore. This is Landscape Rescue, and thank you very much for letting me into your home to talk about plants.